Yes. Brilliant. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for making the time. Now, have you ever been frustrated by the interactions between product and engineering? Have you ever struggled with explaining the importance of tech debt versus delivering new features, or the other way around? Have you ever thought, I wish I could do the other role as well, as it needs to be so much better, it needs to be done so much better? Have you ever seen your whole company struggling because of poor interactions between the two functions that need to work the closest? Um, Having helped a number of well-known UK headquartered and also international companies troubleshoot these issues, I would like to use this presentation to focus on just one small aspect of this topic: how to make the decision about the structure of product and engineering at the very top level of the company. To be clear, this presentation is not about debating whether product management is needed. It is a critical part of any company's success. It's also not about debating whether engineers need to be involved in product decisions. Of course they do, as demonstrated by Marty Kagan, Silicon Valley Product Group, and as supported by Daniel Pink in his book Drive. This presentation is about my experiences helping a few friendly companies gain advantage in their chosen markets by structuring their functional departments in a way that helped achieve their company ambitions. So who am I? Well, what makes me qualified to talk about this? Well, my name is Maksym Schipka. I'm the CTO at Vortexa. I'm a techie, I'm a geek for 30 years. I've been an engineer for 27. I've been managing people for 20 years. And for the last 10 years, I have been a CTO in various different companies. Now, I'm a company director first, and I'm a functional leader second. What that means is that I care about the company's success first. I worked in all kinds of different companies, in private company, in venture capital-backed companies, private equity, public, with very big difference in terms of the headcount, from 6 to 18,000 people, actually. I've been a part and executed a few very successful and not so successful buy and sell mergers and acquisitions, and I've been both on the sell part and on the buy part of them. I have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, both the movie and the software engineering part of it. And I do get invited by a few venture capital and private equity funds to help their portfolio companies optimize their organizational structures for the business outcomes that they want. Now, an important disclaimer: I will not talk about the companies I worked for to avoid any rumors. And also, very similar to the previous speaker, although I have spent a lot of time thinking about this topic, this presentation did not exist literally yesterday, this specific one. So bear with me, and any questions, any feedback on it would be very, very much appreciated. I will talk about the case of three very different companies. I find that all the cases that I get involved in can broadly be categorized into or made similar to one of these three companies, although of course there are variations, and of course each solution, the solution for each company is specific to that company. Let's talk about the company A. I structure my thinking about each company in terms of what's the profile of the company, what the observations that I make there, and what's the proposed solution. So company A is a very large privately held company. Just the engineering there is about 2,000, right? At the time when I was involved, that company was focusing on the consumer products, on the security consumer products. So not only engineers would be the end users of those security products, right? But they also would know what to do best and what's expected of the product best, right? The company's success is very much dependent on the technical capabilities of their products, right? The observations at the time that I made were as follows. The CEO was quite far from running the product, not really involved there. The company had a CTO and a CPO at the time, but it caused a few problems, right? It were two quite large, different, separate departments, and engineers did not feel they were involved in any product decisions, right? If anything, they felt quite strongly that they haven't been heard. Each department had their own objectives, their own sort of their own goals, their own remuneration structures, etc., right? So they worked pretty much independently with a very thin interface between the two departments, right? It led to quite a few problems. One very typical problem there was throwing over the fence. You know, when a product launch fails, and it did fail quite a few times by that time, the conversations were about, oh, engineers delivered the wrong thing, you know, of course coming from product, or engineers saying, well, we delivered exactly what products asked for, it's just they specified the wrong thing, right? And it went there and back quite a lot, right? The other observation, by the way, about this company is both CTO and CPO, they had market experience, right? An understanding of the market. So what was the solution there? The solution there was to converge the two roles into Chief Product and Technology Officer, to hold one single executive accountable for what was happening. It changed the engagement levels within the company immensely. The product started to work a lot closer with engineering just by means of being a part of the same department and by being structured slightly differently. It's amazing what structuring that company has done to it. The products have been some of the most successful security products on the market, and generally the engineers started to feel that they get a lot more space to express their mastery and get aligned a lot better behind the vision for the products. So that's just one example of one typical case that I do come across. Although not everything is the same, there are a few key dimensions there, which we will look at closer to the end of the presentation. Let's talk about Company B. Company B is quite different. It's a UK-based mid-sized private equity growth stage company. So it's a company that achieved certain good levels of revenue, and they focus on very specialized business-to-business healthcare software. Obviously, highly regulated market, and the success of the company very much depends on functionality, on the compliance and reliability of their products. The observations that I made at the time were, well, first and foremost, the company was on your typical private equity 5-year cycle. What's the 5-year cycle? For those of you who don't know, the first year is about generally forming and storming the team within the team. The last year is about the exit. So you have something like 3 years in the middle to figure out and to grow the company both organically and through M&A, as well as maybe focus on some cost optimizations. As it often happens, the executive team within the company was pretty new, starting with a commercial CEO who was brought in the company by the private equity, and they also experienced certain challenges with innovation in their chosen markets. Of course, I'm only giving you a very high-level overview of the company. There were a lot more details there. The solution that really worked well for that company was as follows. First and foremost, get an industry veteran chief product officer, a person who knows the market inside out, who understands the need of the customers very deeply, and who also can at least identify, if not execute, the M&A targets. The product marketing it made sense to keep product marketing within the CPO organization just because of the immense market knowledge of that person at the time. Also, the company did need a very highly mature chief technology officer who could support the success of M&A, including the late stage due diligence process, running post-merger integrations, projects while communicating with engineers together with the CPO about the product vision in a way that engineers could understand and hence get involved. And that involvement of engineers in pushing the technological reliability and delivering the functionality of the products together with the in-depth knowledge of CPO and the department that that person built means that the company, the healthcare company I'm talking about, is currently going through a rapid expansion phase into US markets and is enjoying significant levels of success. But I do think the closest example and the closest sort of to the hearts of attendees of this conference will be Company C. Company C is your very typical small Series A venture capital based fintech startup. Delivering very specialized business to business fintech product. I mean, business to business is one of my specialties throughout my career. They work in a non-regulated market, trying to create value for small and medium businesses in a certain way without disclosing too much. They do have very friendly and open-minded investors who are keen on making the business super successful. And the success of that business would rely very heavily on the product user experience, because the small businesses, what they struggle with the most is because the software is not a part of their business, getting to understand how to use the software and using it intuitively is a big thing there. So what were the observations that I made there? Well, first and foremost, an analytical founder CEO. Obviously, a CEO founded the company with a particular product vision in mind, and they were heavily involved, still are, heavily involved in day-to-day product decisions, right? The current CTO within the company was a recently promoted engineer. When I asked about what's CTO doing, I had a bit of a pause there for like 5-second pause or something. Then, CTO, is that person over there doing something with microservices, I think, right? And the company also went through a few attempts of hiring the chief product officer, and they failed. What happened was a chief product officer, a good chief product officer, joins the company, realizes that the CPO is not the CEO of the product. The CEO is the CEO of the product, using, again, Marty Kagan's terminology, right? And they get demotivated and they leave. Because of how the engineering is structured, engineers are completely invisible. They're not heard, they're not seen. They're told to press button A, they press button A. They're told to press button B, they press button B. Because of the energy and passion of the CEO, the company is gaining traction and the revenues are growing, but for how long, right? And the board started to get quite worried about the loss of speed, the loss of velocity in delivery, the constant engineering frustration with the lack of requirements, and the never-ending product, never-ending features, never-ending products. There was a strong fear of deploying the wrong things within the company as well. What was the solution? And this was the best solution for this company. Works really well. The solution was to hire a strong and very experienced CTO and build the product function within the CTO organization. Product marketing was placed into the marketing organization, and the idea is to support the CEO with this VP product on the operational side of execution while growing the expertise for VP of product. Super successful company right now. You probably have seen them advertised in a few places. So, decision surface and the outcomes. First sort of dimension you need to look at is what kind of company it is. VC-backed private equity, what stage it is, who the investors are. What the personalities of the company are. Is the CEO a product junkie or a seasoned team builder? Is the CTO a recent engineer or somebody with a market knowledge? Look at the product and market as well. Are the engineers going to be the product customers? Are these regulated markets, etc., etc., etc.? There's a lot of things to analyze there. And then ultimately, it boils down into 3 buckets. One is CPTO. That's where the person either has the market experience or can gain it. CTO plus CPO, heavily regulated markets, or where gaining market experience is a lifelong endeavor. And then CTO, including VP of product, when there is already an unofficial CPO and product expertise is needed to support the execution as a starting point. So I think that's everything that I wanted to cover here. And with that, I would like to hand back to Andy.